Schindler's List. This movie like completely tore me to pieces. I wanted to watch it for some time because I like heard it was obviously amazing, and because last week, yes, the last weekend of January is Holocaust Remembrance Week, so I felt like that would be kind of appropriate. And I was homesick one day, and I just got kind of bored. So when I used to think of Steven Spielberg, like I would think of wholesome family movies like Goonies, Gremlins, E.T., Jurassic Park, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which kind of terrified me as a child. But after watching Schindler's List, he is a completely different person to me. And now I know him as like one of the best filmmakers in history. For those who don't know, Schindler's List tells the story of Oskar Schindler, a businessman and entrepreneur in Germany during World War II, who saved over 1,000 Jews despite being a member of the Nazi Party. The movie follows him in his efforts to keep up his factory by employing Jews from the Krakow ghetto and ultimately saving their lives. I think the most important thing to mention first is the performances. Liam Neeson, who plays Oskar Schindler, just like completely shocked me with his performance. The shift from his mission being his business to saving the lives of his workers was like the best character development I've ever seen in a film, and I absolutely loved it. At first, his only reason for hiring all these Jews was for the cheap labor and the surplus of workers. But like as the film progressed, the audience could see like this change, and he prioritized his workers over making money. He only wanted to make money so that he could save more people, and that was really powerful. When all of his workers were taken to Auschwitz, he made it his mission to liberate his workers, and he worked with his accountant Itzhak Stern, played by Sir Ben Kingsley, to remember every single one of their names and make a list.
Wolfgang, Wayne, Wolfgang.
Jakob, Wegenbaum. Wegenbaum, Ludwig, Jakob, Nacha. Yes? Necha.
Nathan, that's right. And Wolf. How many?
600.
More.
Neeson's performance is the thing that made me break down during this movie, because I knew going into this that I would cry, but over like the course of the film I couldn't. It just had me in shock. All of like the horrible things that I was saying just had me in shock, where I was just still. And it wasn't until the very end when you see Oskar looking around at all the people he saved after Auschwitz was liberated, and he breaks down into tears because he wished he could have saved more. And oh man, that's what got me. Like, he looks at everything he has, his own belongings that have like some monetary value, and he says, this is worth this many people.
One more person. A person stand for this. I could have got one more person. And I didn't. I didn't.
And that was, man, that was heartbreaking for me. And now I want to talk about the antagonist, Amon Goeth. I don't remember how to speak German. uh, played by Ralph Fiennes. Again, before watching this movie, I thought of Ralph Fiennes as Voldemort, and only Voldemort. And now that is ruined. Man, the brutality of this man was just so insane to me that I couldn't believe that he was an actual real person who did all of these horrible things over the course of the war. And I kind of liked it when Schindler tried to humanize him. There was a scene where Goethe is drunk, and Schindler tries to convince him that power isn't just the ability to kill, it's the ability to refrain from killing.
That's what the Emperor said. A man stole something, he's brought in before the Emperor, he throws himself down on the ground, he begs for mercy. He knows he's going to die. And the Emperor pardons him. This worthless man, he lets him go.
I think you are drunk.
That's power, Ammon. That is power. Ammon, the good.
I pardon you.
For like a short time, the story kind of follows him, and he doesn't kill people for like a little bit, and instead he says, "I pardon you." But then he goes back to killing the Jews in the camp. And that's when the audience sees his weakness and the fact that he has no power, and it's just, I really like that. Phineas also won the BAFTA award for Best Supporting Actor in 1994. And now more general, like the film itself is unlike anything I've ever seen. Instead of taking like a cinematic approach and making this film more dramatic, Spielberg made it kind of look like a documentary. Like very simplistic shots. He purposefully moved cameras to wrong places just to make it seem like slightly off, but with a purpose. And it kind of made you feel like you were actually there watching a documentary about these events. And it just made it look a lot more realistic. And I thought that was a really interesting choice. I watched an interview that Sir Ben Kingsley did for the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum about working with Spielberg and in this film, and he repeatedly called Steven Spielberg a maestro for making this film look like a documentary. Like he recalled watching some scenes on the monitor and saying they just looked like moments, snatched moments from that time, and it was really interesting. There's even some like subtitles, which are kind of minor, but like subtitles and freeze frames to look like pictures during like the party scenes to make it look like more of a documentary. And another thing, obviously, this film is in black and white, which is a very interesting color choice. But the unique thing about it being in black and white is that there were only 2 colors that were ever present in the film, and it was the yellow candles that are lit during I don't know what they're called, but the Jewish prayers, and the little girl's red jacket. I kind of wanted to analyze it a little bit more, and so I looked up like meanings of the color yellow, and the one that caught my attention was remembrance. The color of the yellow color of the candles repeats in the beginning, in the opening scene, and at the very end when the ceremonial prayers are performed on Sabbath in the factory. And I kind of thought of it as the candle represents like all the memories of the people who were lost. And I kind of like that parallel. And the girl's little red jacket. The scene where the Krakow ghetto was liquidated was 20 minutes long. And it's a 20-minute long scene of just death after death and blood and violence everywhere. And it's horrific. And in the middle of that scene, there's just a little girl walking around, and it's her little red jacket. It's another color in the film. And she just walks around the streets while people around her are getting murdered and shot and beaten. And I found that so strange because she walks like almost like it doesn't bother her, like just completely unfazed, just walking. And there are quite a few times where like after she's walked past someone, they get shot just right behind her, and she just remained like completely like almost like she didn't see it. It was really interesting to me. And Oscar Schindler sees her when he is horseback riding on the outskirts of the ghetto, and he's witnessing all this death and destruction along with the girl. And just the look on his face is just so disturbed, but he keeps watching, and he watches the little girl. And then it stops. And like you don't see her again until the scene where all the dead bodies are burned. And in that scene, Schindler is also present, and he sees her coat, and he remembers, and that's kind of like the biggest shift I saw in his character when he sees that little girl, because now he realizes like the direness of this situation and what he needs to do, and that's like the moment he became a hero, and that's when he started his mission, is when he saw that little girl dead. After watching that, I feel like no other movie I've watched about the Holocaust or World War II has been this real. I've learned more things about the Holocaust than I have in history class. Like, it doesn't matter how many times I've talked about the Holocaust in school. Like, this taught me so much more, and it's crazy how a 3-hour film can do that. Like, I never knew all the, like, really bizarre and desperate ways, like, the Jewish people created to try and survive. Like, the invasion from the SS officers, the ways that they hid their valuables, or, like, passing the medical examinations. That scene is very graphic, lots of nudity. If you're sensitive to that, I wouldn't recommend watching that. But the women would prick themselves and use the blood to, like, as rouge on their face to make them look more alive. And that shocked me. That was really strange and so real. Like, it makes sense. I don't know. That was pretty rough for me to watch. But like, I do not regret watching this movie. It was an absolute masterpiece. It won 6 Academy Awards it won 6 Academy Awards and I think 6 BAFTA awards and a bunch of Golden Globes and so many other awards, and it deserved it too. Like, there's just so much that can be learned from this movie, artistically and historically. Like, we say to never forget what happened, but it can't be misconstrued. You have to really understand what these people went through in the concentration camps and in the ghettos. And we can't forget those stories. And it can't be romanticized, it can't be sentimentalized, it has to be real. And that's what Steven Spielberg did. And oh my gosh, it was amazing. So I really do recommend watching this movie. But if you are sensitive to violence, bad language, nudity, it's not for you. But if you think you have the stomach, I would really watch this movie. It's